If you think alien conspiracies are just internet fever dreams, think again. Meet the NAA, quiet, clever, and possibly already inside our reality. Keep your eyes open. Whispered across forums and found in declassified snippets, the NAA is described as a covert group bent on bending cosmic order to their will. They don't show up in flashy ships. They manipulate frequencies, seed false memories, and exploit human fear to steer events from the shadows. Witness accounts point to subtle anomalies, synchronized dreams, vanished timestamps, and physics that misbehave for a second too long. Scientists call most of it noise, but some patterns repeat, and patterns demand attention. Are the NAA advanced diplomats, predators, or something stranger, a culture that weaponizes reality itself? Whatever they are, one thing's clear. If the negative alien agenda exists, we're living in the teaser for a story that's only getting started. Want to dig deeper? Subscribe, and we'll follow the trail together.
Grand day. Welcome to a fresh new episode, Grand Rising with ChristoLight. We are continuing in our series of this galactic and universal unveiling of the knowledge of self and this universal time matrix that we are a part of and experiencing through. You can call it the universal time matrix, the hologram, the simulation, however you feel, called it all is relative and it all relates, parallel. So let's go ahead and take a rewind. Kirby, welcome from China. Blessed day. So let's go ahead and do a little recap and explore our episode from yesterday. Just to give you a reminder of where we left off in case you missed it. And then we will be continuing on from our last episode. And we'll be exploring, instead of the Galactic Federation, which is more of the positive polarity beings that have came together in our galaxy to hold counsel and help uplift and hold the order of the law of one. We're going to be studying and diving deep into the contrary, the opposite, the negative alien agenda that likes to manipulate, control, and have ways of greed when it comes to their mindset and strategies in this universe. So let's go ahead and take our flashback and go to yesterday's episode, and then we'll be continuing forward about the NAA.
Ode kini shino motu ni na taya no ku ni sunu no ku ni amana ti na ta ode isini koto na ki na te na uno na ki na no ku mana.
They have burdock root, black pepper, sea moss, vitamin D3, dandelion, black seed oil, vitamin C, bladderwalk, turmeric, apple cider vinegar, manuka honey, yellow dock, ginger, elderberry, apple, and ashwagandha. It's me sitting with the Peruvian shamanic team this weekend at the retreat. In the middle is Don Eduardo. Don Eduardo is from Peru. So the Galactic Federation of Worlds. The Galactic Federations of Worlds is a large coalition of civilizations from many different worlds in the Milky Way galaxy, but with members from other places as well. The members work together for the harmonious existence of all life in the Milky Way galaxy and beyond. The Galactic Federation of Worlds was originally based in the Sirius B system. Each race, civilization, and planet had an opportunity to have a representation within the GF, the Great Halls of the Galactic Federation. The GF has one major overseeing council, which has representatives from each member council. This council meets in the Great Hall. With that said, each council has its own Great Hall. Perhaps this is why there's so much confusion around this Great Hall business. The Lyran Council and the Orion Councils doubled as the administrative arm of their new fledgling federation. In other words, they were the Galactic Federation. In time, new races were created as offshoots of the original four.
Focused on helping Earth transition into a higher age and dimension. This event, commonly referred to as Ascension, involves a quantum leap in spiritual evolution and consciousness expansion, facilitated by vibrational increases and DNA upgrades. The Federation is assisting with this process.
Held on every planet associated with the Citadel to elect council members for the new Galactic Council. In early 2240, the new council voted to decide the composition of the executive branch, the High Council. As expected, Aiso and Mourinho were among the 5 elected, along with Udnut Gort of Tuhanka, Councillor Tiberian of Vega, and council member Queen Tiamat of Orion, who replaced Turian Council.
So that was yesterday's episode where we talked about the Galactic Federation, the GF, and now we're going to be exploring the contrary, the NAA, the negative alien agenda. This is the powers of the negative polarity that come together for mind control, manipulation, fear, propaganda, as well as the other negative type of behaviors and self-righteous ways that we can be embodied. Hydration check for everybody. Make sure you guys are drinking clean water. All right. Let's just go ahead and get into it. We're gonna waste no further time. So the NAA. All right. So the negative alien agenda, or negative aliens Archon group. You ever heard of David Icke? David Icke talks about the Archons. So the NAA is to force the planet to serve another multiple species controller agenda through imposing false replicated time fields using biowarfare technology, such as holographic inserts, AI, and mind control, namely created under genetically reptilian-based Archons, extraterrestrials, at the expense and life force of the human race and the kingdoms under human domain. The NAA can be understood as a psychopathic personality or identity profile with a lack of empathy, that have no feelings or remorse, and are generally malevolent towards human beings. So before we even continue, let's take a look at what Archons are. All right, so the Archon is defined as a false king of tyranny ruler that controls through masks of deception, promoted through wearing technology abuse, such as mind control, frequency implants, and military strategies. It can be applied to human or non-human alien sources. It is both the military human and non-human shared greed for domination, of which they both employ hidden advanced frequency technologies designed to perpetrate and promote the archonic deception strategy of the NAA. The archonic deception in its patriarchal oligarchy stems mostly from the reptilian and draconian races from the Orion constellation. Together they are called the Orion Group. Patriarchal domination. Patriarchal domination is enforced in a variety of ways through abuses of alpha male power to control women, and those ranked lower on the social or religious classification system through fear, intimidation, and victimizer techniques. This is a learned skill that is promoted in a variety of ways and is mimicked from boys watching their fathers or male authority figures evolve into controller archetypes that promote archonic deception strategy. This is a primary strategy of programming humans into mind-controlled archonic deception behavior that originates from the Orion Group reptoids of the NAA. Strategies of exerting power and mind control through misogyny exit at every level of society, starting at domestic violence and forms of abuse, which shape core values and the way humans are programmed to think. To better grasp how the archons of the false king of tyranny operate to abuse power systems by creating victims or victimizers on the earth, please see the domestic abuse chart. We're getting deep already. We're talking about the programming that is behind domestic abuse on our planet from these negative polarity beings and their manipulation tactics. So we'll take a look at the diagram chart here in a moment about domestic abuse. So self-enforced enslavement. If a technology-advanced extra-dimensional race has decided to implement a gradual takeover of a planet and its inhabitants, what domination strategy would it use? First, they would look to how they could maximize the efficiency of the evasion process and reduce the expenditure of resources that they have to generate themselves. To achieve this goal, the secretive infiltration of the core societal organizational structures with mind control, such as religion, medical, financial, and legal systems, will be ideal to shape the anti-human value systems that generate the victim and victimizer reality, belief systems that they use to enforce tyrannical mind control. Through the engineering of a labyrinth of self-enforced enslavement policies based on fear, intimidation, through SRA methods hidden in plain sight among the Earth inhabitants, they would achieve the use of minimal off-planet resources by piggybacking on the Earth human resources. The people on Earth would effectively enforce their own enslavement through inflicting torture methods learned from the adults that abuse them as children and carry it from generation to generation. Through consistent desensitization and dissociation, they would grow into dysfunctional adults that would continue to feed the cycle of SRA to enslave their own global human family by giving up their rights and their resources to the power elite. Oof, yeah. I know a lot of us are aware of this and seen this happening throughout history. And this is what's so deep. Self-enforced enslavement. They don't even have to directly do anything to us. They just create mind control traps. They create propaganda. They create things that trigger us. They do all sorts of things intentionally that put us in different states of being that could dissociate us or give us cognitive dysfunctioning and things of that nature. And then through our own free will, we then act from that state of being and end up doing something karmically that we may not intentionally or consciously wanted to do. And we're seeing it big time. Think about all the domestic abuse that we see in this world. Think about the aggression. Think about how people have pride and they basically completely give up their spirit. You know, they give up their mind, body, soul to their job, to their 9 to 5, and things of that nature. That's self-enforced enslavement. So the top 5 archonic strategies, the big 5 strategies to generate more negative ego behaviors and spread their anti-human value systems in the human public are: number 1, divide and conquer; number 2, victim and victimizer; number 3, sexual abuse and sexual misery; number 4, child abuse and child sacrifice; number 5, misogyny. We've seen all these things taking place very clearly on this planet. And that victim victimizer one is a huge one, because we think playing the victim is like a soft, empowering thing, when really it keeps you in the sense and it keeps you in the state that you're separate from spirit, that you're separate from Christ consciousness, that you're a victim to reality, when you're actually an alchemist of reality, a co-creator. The sexual abuse, I mean, do I need to get started? Like, do I really need to get started about sexual abuse on this planet? You think about the lineages and the family bloodlines of molestation and sexual misuse. And then children, don't even get me started about the trafficking of children and the other things that we have heard about and know about with the cabal. So, archonic deception behavior. What are spiritually abusive behaviors, aka archonic deception behaviors? To improve peace in a largely dysfunctional world, we may require additional behavior guidelines, which help us to overcome the insanity of the archonic deception and their anti-life forces, which abuse is mechanism. These behaviors and attitudes are propagated by the controllers to create bondage and enslavement of the human race and thus the planet. To understand the polarity of the world of forces on Earth and identify how satanic force methods are used every day to destroy the feeling heart and soul of human beings, let's review both sides of spiritually healthy behaviors and spiritually abusive behaviors. Spiritually healthy behaviors naturally connect one with God's source in Christ and are God sovereign free, or GSF behaviors. Spiritually abusive behaviors disconnect you from God and Christ and are promoted in archonic deception or AD behaviors. I'm also going to clarify for you guys too that Christ doesn't just mean Jesus. It's not talking about Jesus. It's talking about Christ as in the energy and the balanced and whole force that is the eternalness of all that is, Christ consciousness. So the goal with the below discernment guideline is to identify and locate the spiritually abusive AD behaviors in yourself, others, and an external organization of which you participate, and to transform them through practicing GSF behaviors. All decisions one is able to make from an informed position by identifying AD behaviors will increase personal discernment and energetic resonance of GSF in one's life. The only thing any person can change is themselves through their heart responses and behaviors. Change starts within. Identify the archonic behavior and apply the GSF behavior antidote to transform negativity into spiritually healthy behaviors. How cool to actually give us an antidote. Antidote to AD behaviors is living in the law of one and practicing the GSF. Number 1, empathy and compassion. Number 2, mental openness. Number 3, emotional stability. Number 4, responsibility. Number 5, honesty. Number 6, sovereignty. Number 7, reality assessment. Number 8, unified cooperation. I'm happy to say that I am embodying and walking in the path of all these behaviors. And of course, it fluctuates as days go, but yeah, these are definitely my focuses every day. How beautiful. Behavior discernment guideline. Let's understand more about the AD behaviors and the NAA controller strategies used to weaken virtues and GSF behavior, which allows for the spirits of Christ to thrive in the human race. Suppressor parasitic entity, the SPE, genetically artificial intelligent drones or archons sent by higher-ups in the NAA or those entities that source from imposter spirit and are a type of militarized AI to dominate and possess consciousness through mind control and through projection. They are primarily sourced from Orion groups, consortment of the Black Sun program. They are mind and body parasites that attach to the bio-neurological system and are a mind-controlled technological warfare. It has been observed that after a sequence of deeper layers of infection in the light body, the SPE will harvest genetic material out of the human DNA host to form a type of cyborg. We believe this is part of the transhumanist agenda to create cyborgs in the human population through AI, to be used for a variety of purposes, slave labor on Earth, and to be taken to other planets by the NAA. So, a Libra Archon archetype, the Mother of Darkness. Alvera Archon operates as the Mother of Darkness in the satanic fallen angelic hierarchy connected to the Asian grids. This entity was located as hiding out and affecting the Asian dragon Mother's body, connected to the AI clone version of the Chinese Queen Mother of the West, Ziwamoku. As represented with the West quadrant of White Tiger, the AI White Tiger temples are utilized to inverting the silvery white platinum Maharata planetary solar logo shield of the Avatar Christ Mind. Her massive shadow body spans into grid networks, inversions into the caduceus and crucifixion networks, across into the Irish landmass, implanting inversions for reversal networks around planetary counterfeit control, access over the sons of Iridonis. Elvira appears to be one of the archons who install false fawn of God, mere deer crowns to lunar forces embodied as counterfeit founder entities. Elvira connects into the alien Red Queen hive, feeding into the AI capstone of the alien AI hybrid Dark Mother in Wessa. Elvira uses lunar White Tiger false emerald energies and appears to embody anti-life reversals through lunar forces that generate moon children birthing sequences. Moon children and cloning are used to create genetic bonds to the gender reversal, the breeding programs, and alien love bite unions and SRA twinning orchestrated under various SSP handler-controlled agendas. The Elvira Archon was seated inside the connections across the grid of the Earth, connected into the Sarasota two-dimensional gruel point designed to foment gender reversal and anti-hierogamic templating. Elvira opposes the Cosmic Mother and her representatives of the triple solar goddesses. and siphons collective human sexual energies for powering satanic blood cults being protected in the phantom realms of Bacchus, Dionysus, Pan. These phantom realms hold the lunar matrix foundation for the lunar white tiger, current connected to spinning out counterfeit Emerald Order founder realms under the control of the universal shadow body, assorted AI controlled archons. Wow. That's deep. Ooh. And you can actually, to give you a relative example of what that is talking about, is think about the music industry. Think about Hollywood. Think about the Black Madonna energy. Think about, the Red Shoe Club. Think about, the adrenochrome. And think about the trafficking. Think about the way that they have infiltrated the music industry. And through hip hop and rap, especially, the way that they utilize women. The way they utilize women through modern hip hop and mainstream rap is an exact embodiment of this Elvira Archon Mother of Darkness archetype. You think about the Cardi B's, you think about those type of figures, the Doja Cats, the I don't even care to even continue to try to remember their names, but the music industry is heavily tied to this Mother of Darkness energy. As much as we may want to ignore this stuff, this stuff is definitely to be looked at. Awareness brings change. It brings us the opportunity to bring change through our energy and mind. There's so much to really click on here. It's like, where do you even start? Golly. So let's go ahead and go back to our first page, the NAA. Oh yeah, we were going to look at a chart, weren't we? So this is the domestic abuse chart that they were referencing. So you guys check that out. So it says physical, violence, and sexual. In the middle it says power and control. At the top it says use coercion and threats. So make threats to hurt her, make her drop charges, make her do illegal things, threaten to leave her, to commit suicide, to report her to welfare. Oh man. This might be a little triggering for some of us that come across this, so just a trigger warning. Use of intimidation, make her afraid or make them afraid, smash things, display weapons, destroy property, abuse pets. Use emotional abuse, put her down, make her feel bad and guilty, call her names, humiliate her, make her think she's crazy, play mind games. Use isolation, control what she does, who she sees and talks to, what she reads, where she goes, limit her outside involvement, use jealousy to justify actions. Deny, blame, and minimize, make sight or make light of the abuse, not take her concerns seriously, say the abuse didn't happen, shift the responsibility, say she caused it. Use children, make her feel guilty about the children, use the children to relay messages, use visitation to harass her, threaten to take the children away. use male privilege. Be the one to define men's and women's roles, make all the big decisions, treat her like a servant, act like the master of the castle. And then last one is use economic abuse. Prevent her from a job, make her ask for money, give her an allowance, not let her know about or have access to family income, and take her money. And that is the power and control of abuse in this chart that they are displaying for us, and how the archons utilize these methods for control. Wow. But it's necessary to expose. That's right, Danica. As dark as it could be, it is a part of this spectrum of reality that we're in. And like I said, we want to be aware of what we have going on around us so that we know how to navigate it. And then we can help others navigate it. And then we can gradually take our powers back and not keep falling into these traps, so to say. Because these things are happening. So it's like, you know, we can either just keep blindsiding ourselves and just kind of set ourselves up to fall for these things, or we can become aware and find ways to navigate to where we're not interacting with it as much, not consenting to it. It's incredible, like, the amount of power we have. We have the power of the universe, and we have given that up so much outside of us, but we don't have to. But there's so much fear and all these different tactics taking place to put the pressure on us to think that we have to give our power away to something outside of us, especially if we want to live on this planet and we want to have a good life. We got to have a government to help us. We got to have certain energies and entities to help us, when really, no, we don't. We just need to tune into ourselves and open ourselves up to being aligned with our higher energy. And we will flow and be guided along our path with every step. And we don't have to get consent from a third party. We don't need a government. We don't need another authority figure to ever tell us what to do in our everyday life, or if we can or cannot do something out of our free will. That's the laws of the universe. We have free will. And with our free will, there's a cause and an effect for every cause. And that just is what life is. Everything else is made up concepts to either control you or to guide you. And it's up to you to decide what is the reality for you, not somebody else. Not archonic beings, not tyrannical rulers. I love that you say that. Our enemies are not flesh and blood, from victim to powerful revolution and restoration. It's really not flesh and blood. It's not other humans. And it's also not ignorant humans either. Ignorant humans that are unaware of their spiritual essence and the connection to the universe, they're not the enemies. They are the ones that are manipulated. They are under mind control spells. They don't even really consciously know better because they're not accessing parts of their consciousness, because they're stuck in the activations of their reptilian brain, their archonic brain. And then, due to being in that frequency, it's becoming difficult for many to get out of that frequency due to these tactics that we're learning about here. The sovereign ones. That's right. GSF, God Sovereign Free. So let's continue. The negative aliens. These are extra-dimensional and interdimensional beings that have lost their consciousness connection to God's source and are utilizing humans and other beings as their food source, siphon life force like a parasite to live thousands of years. They do not have access to incarnate into human bodies, so they covet human bodies, and they want to take them over through possession, in which to use them in the future. They do not have emotions as humans have, but are highly intelligent, as they are working on higher mind principles than the average human, which filters through the 3 layers of ego. They are similar archetypally to a mad scientist that manipulates and genetically modifies human beings as consciousness slaves. Similarly, as a farmer interested in gaining more resources out of his herd of cattle on the farm, they consider humans as an investment in their conquered planetary territory, which they utilize as an energy resource portfolio. The NAA can be best understood as a sociopathic and psychopathic and sociopathic personality or identity profile with a lack of empathy that has no feelings or remorse towards human beings. They regard human beings as inferior, stupid, and many times use the forms of mockery to create intentional harm for their own amusement. These antichrist beings have been manipulating the human world of affairs for thousands and thousands of years, since the Atlantean fall, for their own purposes, for bringing forth the final conflict of the Armageddon cloudicism, for insinuating totalitarian world slavery with the one world order. See the ages of humanity. These are interdimensional and extradimensional beings known as fallen angelics in ancient history. They use many technologies, manipulation methods to mind control and negatively manipulate the future direction of the human race. Once such negative manipulation is installing the Armageddon software into the planetary brain in order to install false father, negative alien religions based on serving the Yahweh and Jehovian Anunnaki collectives. That's right, the Yahweh and Jehovian Anunnaki collectives. They're at the core of the dogmatic religions. So let's talk about Armageddon software and what that is. So the Armageddon software mind control programs, such as war and terrorism, pestilence and cataclysmic falls, or many other fear programs, which can be interchanged as they are similar biowarfare and mind control programs. And this is also doomsday events, the end of the world, 2012, blah, 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 instilling fear into the future. That's Armageddon software. So this is a psycho-spiritual warfare strategy used against humanity by the negative aliens through their false gods and false father satanic religions to use SRA to repeatedly enslave, kill, and torture humans through religious violence and military control through terrorism, war, and population control, in which their goal is to institute global tyranny via the New World Order. The Armageddon software is the enslavement companion mind control system, which is activated through the crucifixion implants and holographic inserts embedded in the planetary body and human body. The Armageddon software is a mind control program to terrorize humanity. Through enforcing the militarization of planet Earth, it is carried out through military gray alien technology and the continual development of the hidden underground and space alien technology war machine agenda. The Armageddon software use patriarchal domination and enslavement agenda, Armageddon software, and crucifixion implants that are put into the planetary brain logos, the 7th dimension. Holographic inserts of alien technology to project mind control archetypes and self-enforced enslavement. Using the Church of Rome and false father god religion to participate or perpetrate the greatest spiritual abuse of human beings. Mind control, brainwashing through religious fear, persecution based upon cloudicism, terrorism, and pestilence wielded by reptilians to torment humanity. Armageddon is a reptilian software to torment humans from their cellular memories of Atlantis and Lemuria that were erased in conscious mind. Phew. So let's go with the NAA invasion. When our planetary logos was invaded and corrupted by the reptilian controllers, the Archons, the planet and our race was impacted dramatically. It meant we were no longer free to create and evolve as per the original blueprint of our intended creation. We had no memory of what happened to us. We were recycled through continual reincarnation into the astral plane with no memory of our past lives, who we really are, where we are going, and what our real relationship is to God and what humanity's purpose actually is. Over time, most of us lost our feeling connection to our soul matrix and became numb to the pain in order to survive in anti-human based structures. What has happened to our planet is not human. It is quote-unquote alien to the true nature of humanity. Self-anointed gods. When these false alien gods waged their Luciferian rebellion and subsequent invasion strategies of conquering planet Earth, these self-anointed gods got to work on devising the various alien hybridization programs filled with genetic experimentation, social engineering, and religious mind control methods to generate consciousness slaves on Earth. The primary life designer for the Belial group, Sa'am Enki, began the first of the many genetic experiments for cloning and hybridization breeding programs, from the large elongated skulls of his future Syrian Anunnaki progeny of Nephilim with red hair to the earlier seeding of Neanderthals, which are remnants of the previous Enki life design for seeding Antichrist species. The main purpose to seed Antichrist species on the planet is designed them to be natural enemies of the already existing indigenous population, namely the Essene Christos races, in which they would constantly be manipulated to instigate war and genocidal hatred in order to finally destroy all remnants of Diamond Sun DNA existing within the Earth's population. And then the last part I will read for our education today. And this is the negative alien religions. So one of the largest lies promoted to divide our race is the war over false gods promoted through religious violence. The false archetypal story of a crucified Christ figure is a mockery to further enslave humans into believing in a salvation model through a crucified Christ. It represents the tortured human being, as we are all the Christ, and we have crucified and been implanted as our planet was invaded. These structures are called crucifixion implants. These crucifixion implants are tangible control structures placed in the 7-dimensional logos, and therefore it is in our individuals' bodies in the 7-dimensional chakra. Its complex meridians in the entire left side of our female spirit of our bodies. We are not aware of these implants until we open the 7th chakra seal and start connecting with that part of our 7th layer light body to our personal consciousness field. This is a direct result of the negative aliens and that strategy for enslavement through mind control and artificial intelligence. Wow. When you really think about that, though, the worshiping of a death rather than the celebration of a life, and that's so, wow, that's so powerful. Especially when you think about, like, we don't need any figure, we don't need anything outside of us at all to give us the permission or to be the reason why we are all of a sudden connected to Christ consciousness, or that we are all of a sudden in communication or connection with God. Why is that? Because there is no separation from God. God is existing through all of us. It is existing through everything. The essence is what makes things exist. Without the essence of Creator, or without the essence of God, nothing can exist. So if you exist, that means you are the divine spark embodied in a form, no matter who you are. And you have that innately in you. You don't need to bow down to nobody or nothing outside of you in order to access what is you and giving you life in every moment. Very deep. Phew. What a study today. The negative alien agenda. What do you guys think about all this so far? I do not consent to participate in the realm of parasitic distortion. Ashe. I love that. All right. Let's go into our videos and get some other perspectives about these archon and negative agendas as well.
Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land, every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. At the highest level, their goal is to create a world in which the adepts, the 1,000 points of light, working behind the veil to create the culmination of the great plan, can realize the ultimate happiness for mankind. Their whole purpose throughout history has been to teach a small number of people how to become adept at controlling everyone else and presenting their societies as desirable to the profane, so that you'll go knock on the door and say, hey, can I be a member and be initiated, with the promise of learning some great secret. What is that secret? The secret is what I have just told you this morning. The secret is how to control everybody else.
Ooh. That is our kickoff. Now we shall continue with the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch has so much in it, I swear to you. The Book of Enoch is amazing to look into.
The Book of Enoch explained a group of mysterious creatures that fallen angels created. Today, that's what we'll be covering in the Book of Enoch. You see, the Nephilim giants are not the only hybrid beings that were created. There were also mysterious crossbreeds between animals and humans. Let me explain. The Book of Enoch mentions how the 200 Watchers experimented on humans and animals to create monstrous hybrid beings. The book reads, the 200 angels choose animals on which to perform unnatural acts, including presumably humans. 200 donkeys, 200 rams, 200 goats, 200 beasts, from every animal, from every bird, for miscegenation. The outcome of the demonic corruption was violence, perversion, and a brood of monstrous beings. They defiled, they begot giants and monsters. Now, as we can see, the Book of Enoch referred to giants and monsters, meaning there were several different hybrids created during this time. But I really want to point out what it means when these angels gathered these animals for miscegenation. This means there was some sort of reproductive process conducted by the fallen angels, and they used animal and human DNA to accomplish their experiments regarding these twisted beings. These monstrous hybrid creatures have been documented by humanity, but is taken as mythology. But what if it's far more real than we think? The Bible tells us in the days of Noah, there were non-human hybrid creatures known as the Nephilim terrorizing humanity. Let's take a look back in time at some of the most popular half-human, half-animal hybrids documented throughout history. In Greek mythology, there is a being known as centaur. In Greek mythology, the centaur are a race of creatures that are part horse and part man, dwelling in the mountains of Thessaly and Arcadia. This could very well be one of the outcomes of the Watcher's experiments in the Book of Enoch. This is how these creatures were created according to Greek mythology. The centaurs were usually said to have been born of Ixion and Nephili. Ixion is a human and fathered these beings, whilst Nephili is a spiritual being. Doesn't this story sound familiar? As the story goes, Nephili was a cloud made into the likeness of Hera in a plot to trick Ixion into revealing his lust for Hera to Zeus. Ixion seduced Nephili, and from that relationship, centaurs were created. This is basically the same story of the fallen angels, creating the hybrid beings through miscegenation. Miscegenation literally means reproduction through intimate relations. There are also other creatures in Greek mythology that are half human and half animal. They are known as sirens. Although most people refer to sirens as mermaids now, in Greek mythology, they are half bird, half human creatures. And as we know, the Book of Enoch said, the fallen angels took 200 of every bird to genetically manipulate them, which created hybrid creatures. One of the most renowned places in the world that speaks of these hybrid beings is none other than ancient Egypt. As we analyze the hieroglyphs, we see how the gods of Egypt are detailed. For example, Thoth, god of writing, wisdom, and magic, is depicted as having a bird head in a human-like body. Also, Horus has a similar appearance. As we look at the Egyptian gods, we begin to see nearly all of the gods are hybrids between animals and humans. My question is, were these hybrids worshipped as gods in ancient Egypt? I think it is possible that the creatures created by the fallen angels through miscegenation were worshipped as gods alongside the fallen angels, since the fallen angels could have just passed the advanced spiritual knowledge to their offspring, making them indistinguishable from an angelic being themselves as far as spiritual wisdom. One thing we must acknowledge is that the fallen angels in heaven wanted to be worshipped as gods, and they were casted to earth and were being worshipped as gods along with their offsprings. Perhaps some of these beings are still alive today, which is why creatures such as the Mothman have allegedly been spotted. Mothman in West Virginian folklore is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. And hence his name, he looks like he's partially a giant moth and partially a man. In mid-November 1966, in the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, two young couples fled the local woods, claiming they'd seen a terrifying creature. They recounted their story to the sheriff and reported that the entity looked human in most respects, except for its 10-foot wings and glowing red eyes. Mysterious beings that are believed to exist but haven't been proven to exist have been labeled as cryptids, and these cryptid creatures have been spotted all over the world. However, there is something very important I want to point out about these creatures. They all have something in common for the most part. They all seem to look like hybrid creatures, which is why I made the comparison between the hybrids in the Book of Enoch and these mysterious cryptid creatures. The Bible did mention in Genesis 6:4 how the biblical hybrids existed before the Great Flood and also after. From this verse, we can further imply that a possible reason we're seeing these cryptid creatures is because they survived the flood. The Great Flood was actually meant to remove these abominations, not necessarily humans. God just knew in order to cleanse the earth, he needed to remove all of the corruption as a whole. These creatures are also known as abominations. God did not intend for these beings to exist, which is why most of them were eradicated. Even if we still see small signs of their existence, it's nowhere near as bad as it was in the days of old. These hybrid creatures were terrorizing humanity, and they are even described in the Book of Enoch as demonic beings. The spirits of the hybrids who perished in the Great Flood became what we now call demons. Perhaps this is why demonic creatures such as Baphomet look like a half-human, half-animal hybrid. Actually, now that I think about it, almost every demon that is depicted are all some kind of animal-human hybrid, mainly a crossbreed between a bull and a human. Let me know what you think about that segment in the comment section below. This is the conclusion to this video. Thank you for watching.
So interesting, huh? Completely different perspective of how we've gotten to this point on earth, and biblical scripture and ancient scriptures. It's so fascinating. You hear about the Nephilim and all these different things. Fallen angels. Wow. So let's go ahead and continue. And now we're going to talk specifically about the archons.
Breaking free from archon influence, revealing their secret weapon to control us. According to ancient Gnostic lore, the archons are the ruling agents of the universe and brutal overlords of humanity. Unlike other celestial villains, the archons aren't interested in eternal damnation or overthrowing some good principle. These omnipotent, thuggish beings are in charge, and that is it. Like traditional demons, they seduce humanity, but the whole mechanism of the cosmos is one big-ass seduction meant to keep the holy part of humans unaware of a higher destiny. Thus, what the archons want the most in this universe is status quo. How exactly do the archons seduce and keep us trapped in Maya? Keep the cosmic slaughterhouse factory going? One view is unique but appropriate in a way any modern person can relate to the point of sharing it loudly in a support group. Let's find out before they hear us. Who exactly are the archons? In a dictionary of Gnosticism, Andrew Philip Smith provides the definition of the archons. In Gnostic systems, the archons are the numerous assistants of the demiurge. They are usually responsible for the creation of the human body. Planetary archons are also thought to rule over the various spheres through which the soul may ascend. The archons have a negative role, restraining the spiritual impulses of humanity and directing human affairs for the demiurge, being responsible for the flood, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the crucifixion of Jesus. Although depicted as hermaphrodite creatures owning bestial faces, with an appetite for rape and brawling, the archons are essentially a mixture of heavenly administrators and hellish union goons. Their greatest tool isn't fear, however, but ignorance, the quote, mother of all evil, according to the Gnostic Gospel of Philip. If humans remain ignorant of their divine origins beyond the universe, the system remains constant, and all is kosher for the archons. Except the system is, according to the Gnostics, a flawed construct. As Sam Criss wrote in The Atlantic, the physical universe was the creation of the demiurge, Samael or Yaldabaoth, sometimes figured as a snake with the head of a lion, a blind and stupid god who creates his false world in imperfect imitation of the real creator. The world is a distorted mirror, an image, in other words, a kind of software. In this flawed system, this software, the archons are demented programmers, coding our fate, precisely every negative aspect of our lives, inner and outer, that slowly break our mental spine. They grant us the counterfeit spirit. It sucks. The method of the Archons. All of this brings us to the specific method the Archons likely used to keep us in abject ignorance, the opposite of liberating gnosis. That is bureaucracy. Really bad bureaucracy. The Archon nature of being the bumbling administrators of the heavens is their greatest weapon. After all, as above, so below, said the Gnostic Hermeticists. While many faiths feel that a celestial bureaucracy is fantastic, from the Pythagoreans to Confucianism, the Gnostics, history's great anarchists, contended it was quite the opposite. The faulty, quote, software was, ironically, the perfect mechanism to keep us trapped in, as Philip K. Dick called the universe, the Black Iron Prison. It was death by 1,000 regulations, death by 1,000 frustrations. In the novel Good Omens, written by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, a demon appropriately named Crawley proves that the Archon way is superior in the fight against heaven. He demonstrates that traffic jams and phone service outages are far more efficient in damning souls than such common demonic methods as possession or temptation. Death by 1,000 frustrations is the best way to dim the human spirit. Ponder this. As humans, we are basically prepared to deal with and overcome life's significant challenges, from a family death to a nearby war, and thus infinity is part of our vibe. It's the little shit in life that seems to get us. Imagine going through a day when the car won't start. You seem to catch every bloody red light. You need 5 departments at work to sign off on your order for printer cartridges. The customer service representative of your online order is oblivious after you spend an hour trying to connect. Like Morpheus said in The Matrix, it's like a splinter in your mind driving you mad. And these events just don't seem at all like an accident. Between bureaucracy and a faulty system, you can feel your soul dimming, your mind numbing, and your heroic side perishing. You become forgetful and anxious, a Stockholm Syndrome victim to a passive-aggressive kismet. Think of the works of Franz Kafka. Think of Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Think of the next time you have a good idea at work. Think of negotiating with the IRS, experiencing Microsoft updates, or family holiday parties where being comfortably numb is truly the closest you feel to heaven. It's not truly heaven, but that's the game the Archons play. Anyone can get used to fire after 1 billion years in hell. Anyone can get comfortable with extinction in a Richard Dawkins paradigm. But not even Buddha can handle the local DMV. Like Lao Tzu said, the more laws and order are made prominent, the more thieves and robbers there will be. In an Archon-ruled universe, we are all outlaws who don't even know it, sinking in ignorance by every Mercury retrograde and iPhone upgrade. We are the frogs in the boiling waters of Lethe. How do we fight the Archons? We fight the Archons like the ancient Gnostics did, with knowledge, wisdom, and detachment. To be in the world and not of it, as Jesus explains in the Gospel of John. Or as Paul says in Romans 12, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Thus, in a higher mind, in a hermetic sense, don't let them control your mind like most of humanity. As Nicola Denze Lewis writes in her book, Introduction to Gnosticism, the Archons, quote, transcend category, which in the thought world of antiquity was not a good thing. She also writes that they are neither, quote, divine nor clearly demonic. After arming ourselves with the right data to see beyond the software, we must beat the Archons at their game by transcending human categories, becoming neither divine nor clearly demonic. Awaken the essence of Sophia and the alien god that resides within us, sometimes known as the divine spark. The Gnostics utilize many rituals to achieve this, so your mileage may vary. Ultimately, it's about breaking fate, knowing that the Archons truly own our body, that we only rent at a high interest rate, and that our thoughts can become free with the right information.
Wow. We have explored great depths today about this focus of the Archons, the negative agenda, and its history here on Earth and in our universe. And with that, it is now time to close out in this episode of Grand Rising of ChristoLight. There are a couple of other productions coming up today. I am going to be producing at 5 p.m. House Mama Unity and Community Podcast, hosted by Shannon Scott, and she'll be having special guest Kevin Allen, who will be joining and talking about purpose, profit, and responsibility. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be live with Sandy Marshall for the Raw Material Law of One, Ascending Beyond Limitations, and we will be exploring more of the Law of One. You can tune in, tap in on the Sacred Light Broadcast Network for each of these, 5 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Eastern today. And let's close out. Take some deep breaths, if you may. Breathe out of that violet crown, the crown chakra bowl. A couple of deep breaths. And one more final deep breath. Deep breath in. And release. Remember your light. Remember your connection. Remember your sovereignty. And be vigilant of the energies you're interacting with. I love you all, and I wish you all a blessed and beautiful day. See you again soon. Our founder claims, this right here is an embodied form of the violet ray spectrum. Tap in and tune in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. Live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Grand Rising with ChristoLight, your sacred space for discovering the Ascended Masters and crystal healing. Ashe.